I've been asked to describe what it's like to run a game with no intention of fudging die results or, fiddling with things by playing it straight, as it were. And so, I think this is an excellent question, and I respect the questioner, and so here is my response. What is it like to do that? Well, I think first we need to address some context. And the reason why is that this is a difference in culture of play. This is based on your experience as a player or as a game master. If you haven't been on both sides of this cultural divide, it may be very difficult to grasp. So, looking at the justifications for fudging, we have things like being able to prevent a dissatisfying story, to provide more entertainment for the players, to be able to control spotlight time for each person to make them feel special, and basically to allow the game master to maintain control over the flow of, I'm not going to use the word story, I'm going to use narrative, meaning the direction things are traveling. Okay. Now, this means that one of the aspects of play which is highly prized on the other side of the cultural divide is greatly reduced, that of the emergent or discovered story. Okay. So by allowing the game master to maintain control, or to have control, the option of control over the narrative, the story begins to take shape, or begins to be guided in its formation by the game master's decisions. It's no longer purely discovered. Okay. Now, this is not a value judgment. This is a description. Okay. I definitely prefer the other side, where we discover it. So what? Okay, keep that in mind. So, what's it like to be on the other side? None of those advantages of fudging are considered advantages on the other side. Those are controls I don't want as the game master. These are controls I don't want as a player. Right? I basically am saying, as a player, I want my character to have the right to fail. I want my character to have the right to perish. I want my character to have the right to make stupid decisions that result in a stupid, meaningless death, because meaningless deaths are the kinds of things which create real drama in life and in stories. The loss of a character before their time, the loss of a friend before their time, these are things that shape who we are. Why don't I want these in my play experience? So this kind of fire that I'm describing, this is what drives that other side of the cultural divide. We want to discover things. The play is based on decisions, and it's based on the decisions' interaction with the mechanics. The mechanics are there to provide the results, the feedback from the universe. Right? The game master is not a god of narrative deciding in which direction things will flow, or saying, if it goes that way, someone might die. This is not a good time story-wise for them to die, so I'm gonna pull back on those repercussions or those consequences. It's not that kind of play experience. The characters are free to experience the consequences of their actions, and therefore the players are free to feel a sense of victory, feel a sense of accomplishment, feel a sense of pride in what their characters do. There can be no bad dice rolls, I said in an earlier clip. There can be dice rolls you don't like. There can be maimings, there can be inopportune failures. You really needed to get a door open before the enemy caught up to you, and you didn't. So now you're fighting in front of this locked door. But that is the story, not a pre-planned escape, so it's okay. When you grow up in this kind of play, you expect challenges. When you don't get them, you become suspicious. When you grow up in this kind of play, characters are fragile and to be treasured. Not from a, or not purely from a wish fulfillment or character exploration point of view. Like, I want to run this character from this planned starting point to that planned ending point, right? Not from that point of view. They're to be cherished because they could be lost at any time. They could become unplayable for some reason at any time. They could change as a result of play into something completely different. They could be mentally scarred. They could lose too many companions. They could have to make a deal that alters their planned course of their own destiny. These sorts of things. All of these things can be discovered, and none of it has to follow any of our traditional literary structures. Not length, not the concept of the chapter, not the concept of the book, not the concept of the three-act play. None of this stuff has to be dropped on top. We don't have to manage beats. It all happens, I shudder to use the word organically, but it all happens naturally. It all develops from play. It's all discovered. It's all surprising. Now, on the other side of the cultural divide, you have very talented people creating stories around the decisions of the players, who have carefully timed spotlights and who have carefully divined what that player really wants from the play experience, and figures out a way to make that seem challenging and sometimes be challenging, and give them a very enjoyable experience. And sometimes this includes death and loss and fear and these sorts of things. And sometimes it involves, stamping out evil or injustice or whatever, like an unstoppable tide. It's a very cool way to run a game. I used to hate it. I used to do it, and I came to hate it while doing it. I discovered my own preferences. Right? I grew up playing without modifying the dice, without interjecting my will on top of the system or my will into the story. Right? I grew up that way. I considered that to be normal, and as I explored more games, they started whispering in my ear saying, you could do so much more. You could be a storyteller. That's one of the big influences there. You could create. You could be, whatever. And that particular role doesn't entertain me. And when I'm in that particular mode, maybe it comes out to my players. I don't particularly like running the game that way. And maybe they have less fun, but they have more fun when I run it the other way because I'm having more fun. I discovered what my preferences were. I discovered my voice as a game master. I honestly don't care which side of this divide you're on. I just want you to be really good at it. I want to get better at it. I want to be able to meet a group of people, recognize that they prefer to play on this side, and be able to meet them halfway. Of course, I want to show them what it's like on my side, and of course I'll hope that they discover they like it more. I like being versed in both sides of this cultural divide, but I can't ever let myself forget that I will grow bored and dissatisfied if all of my play is on the side of narrative control. I need to discover the story. Right? I need it. That's one of the reasons why I play that way. And I can totally, I'm going to say empathize, with people who are on this side, who don't feel comfortable over here, who don't like the experience, who don't like discovering the story, who want to be able, or need to be able to shape these stories, who really thrill to creating a fantastic play experience for their players and creating these epic characters or these subtle, mysterious interactions that have so many layers and so many themes that when you sit back and look at the story, it just takes your breath away. Wow, how did you put all that into motion? Right? Which side are you on? I don't care. It doesn't matter. You shouldn't care, but you should know.